But there's one more element we haven't really talked about, and that's the turbulence of love. Because sometimes love is wonderful and fulfilling and uplifting, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes your heart is so full of love for somebody and they reject it and it hurts. Sometimes somebody will do something and I think if they really loved me, they wouldn't have done that. Am I alone or can you relate to that? Yeah. So we're going to start off with the affirmation, then we'll end with the affirmation. And the affirmation today is, God's love is my love, and my love is resilient. So if you're more comfortable with the word universal energy or the magnificence or whatever you'd like to call the spirit, put that word in there. Some people don't like the word God, and that's okay, because we're still talking about the whole and the one and the complete. So whatever it is that is the creator, that love is my love, and my love is resilient. So we're going to talk about a couple of aspects of this turbulent love, this inside awareness and how we can work through that. We're going to talk about listening and how that can be a spiritual practice all unto itself. And then I want to talk a little bit about grace and what grace is. Ernest Holmes, the founder of CSL, says, change your thinking, change your life. You might have also heard it by Brian Tracy in the 80s when he had this amazing self-help workshop thing that he did. You guys, any of you remember Brian Tracy? He was good. He was one of those 80s dynamic speakers. Anyway, change your thinking, change your life. And it seems really simple, right? Just stop thinking what you're thinking and think something different and everything will change. And if it was that simple, we would all do it, right? But we spend our lives thinking what we've been thinking most of our lives. So, I wear glasses. I see some of you also wear glasses. And our glasses help us see, right? We put our glasses on so we see the world different than when we're not wearing our glasses. And I think that we all have the lenses that we look through. And those lenses are formed from when we're born to probably around when 18, 19 years old. About 95% of our glasses are formed through that time frame. And so what forms them? A hug that means something to us. Or when we fall down and somebody laughs. Or when we fall in love for the first time. Or when we get our heart broken for the first time. All of those things form the lenses that we look out of. And so we can change our lenses, we can change the way we see the world, but it takes effort and it takes time and it takes awareness. So change comes from within. It's a conscious effort on our part to make that happen. Ernest Holmes also says, life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. That's very headsy, but there's more to it than that. So let me give you an example. I'm a hospice chaplain, for those who don't know, and I was seeing a patient, and this particular patient of mine needed a little extra care. So I spent hours with her, helping her clean her space up a little bit, making phone calls with her so that she could get some things clarified and taken care of, getting her support that she needed. And towards the end of our visit, she said, nobody really cares. And I said, I care. And she goes, no, this is just your job. It's just your job. And I was like, no, I care. That's why I just spent the last 3 hours with you, is because I care. And she says, I know you don't really care, and it's okay. So whatever it was inside of me, I became outraged, defensive. Like, how dare you say I don't care? Because I know me, I care. Right? So I had to excuse myself at that point because I was a little hostile. I don't know that she knew that because, I still had my smile on, but I said, I'll see you next time. I gotta go. And I left, and I sat in my car, and I was beside myself, like, why am I having such an amazingly strong, visceral reaction to someone telling me I don't care? What's that about? Now, self-awareness is a spiritual practice. And it's one of those practices I encourage everybody to participate in because it's what changes the lenses of your glasses. Okay, so what was it that upset me or put me on the defensive when somebody said to me that I don't care? Well, I define myself as an individual that cares, that's compassionate, that's loving, that's supportive. Have you guys read the book Influence? Anybody read the book Influence? It was written several years ago. And basically, this scientist he wrote the book because he wanted to figure out how people were influenced. That's the name of the book. And in the book, he tells the story about how there was an experiment where people went around with petitions to this house and had people sign petitions for saving the environment. And they would talk to these people and get them to sign these petitions. The petitions really weren't for anything, but it was an experiment. So what they noticed is that once an individual defined themselves as an environmentalist, because they signed the paper, they then moved and behaved in a way an environmentalist would behave. So then another group of people came around and knocked on those same doors, and the ones that signed the petition were also willing to put a sign, not a pretty sign either, in their yard promoting this environmentalist kind of mentality. So going back to my story, I define myself as a certain type of person. And so when this individual was telling me that I wasn't this type of person, there's lots of cognitive dissonance going on in my brain. Like it wasn't settling right. It wasn't okay. But it wasn't okay because somewhere in me there was a doubt, that there was an insecurity, that maybe I really wasn't as caring, and maybe I was just pretending, and maybe people didn't really see me that way. Well, that's interesting. So if that was the truth, then how do I get myself into a place where I feel secure in that being caring? I'm a caring person. And you don't even have to ask anybody because I don't really care if you know or not, because I know that I'm a caring person. And I was able to let go of well, she doesn't think I'm a caring person. So let's look at the other side of that, because what I did also is I took it really personal. Have you ever done that? Have you ever somebody said something to you and you take it really personal and it means like it's about you? It wasn't even about me, because I went and I thought about who she is. And this particular individual has never learned how to receive, doesn't know how to be loved, doesn't know how to accept a gift because it's too much of a burden. So would it have mattered if I did anything for this individual? Would she have seen anything that I did as a caring gesture? Probably not. Because I can't change her unless she wants to change. This is a huge lesson that I've had to learn over my life, is that I can't change anybody unless they want to be changed. And then I can only help them. I can't change them, because we all have to do the work ourselves, right? So what we see, what the mirror, what we put out, what we look through the lens, what we see back is us. So when she said, I'm not a caring person, I reflected my own insecurities back to me, so I had a chance to look. So what a blessing she gave me. What a gift. Because in that situation, in that conversation, I had something I could look at to heal. I don't always say, but I say it a lot. If you feel it, it's yours to heal. If you feel it, it's yours to heal. If you're enraged by something inside of you is creating that emotion. I was sitting in a conference with a friend of mine, and the vibe was awesome, and we were dancing, and it was feeling so good, and we were like, yes, yes, yes. And then someone got up on stage and kind of broke the vibe. And I was like, that's too bad. I did not have an emotional reaction. It was more like a disappointment, like, okay, well, we'll have to work to get back up. And I looked over at my friend, and she was fuming. She was really, really mad. And I said, what's going on? Because I, want to help. And she says, how completely disrespectful, how out of line, this is not the time or place, how dare he? And because, we're friends and we have a little, our thought process goes the same. I wouldn't do this for everybody. I reached over and I said, if you felt it, it's yours to heal. Now again, don't just go say that to people. And she looked at me and she said, ooh, you're right. What's that about for me? And then we had a different conversation. But that's the point. If you're having a reaction to it, then there's something there for you to look at. A wrongdoing arises in the mind. It is through the mind that wrongdoings can be dissolved. Beginning anew is changing your mind and heart to transform the ignorance that brought about the action, and compassionate listening is critical. This is by Nick? Thank you. Thich Nhat Hanh. I've been practicing and it just didn't come out, but thank you. Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Vietnamese monk, Buddhist monk, and he wrote a book called Teachings on Love. And so our thoughts matter. If we change those thoughts, we change our life. Albert Einstein always, and I love this one, I'm sure you've heard it, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that you created. So we need to come up with a different solution than the offended person. We need to step out of that so that we can solve it and heal it. Have many of you ever heard of the Heart Math Institute? Anybody in here heard of the Heart Institute? Okay, I've got maybe 3 or 4. So I just discovered this. And apparently it's been around since 1991, so I don't know where I've been, but this is a new concept to me, or a new organization to me. I read the book and I loved it. So basically, this is more of a scientific way of showing that our heart and our brain are connected, but the heart has more of an impact on us than we think. So the studies were done, and it showed that care and compassion in your heart, you feel it in the heart. You know the feeling. Now we can in our mind, in our consciousness up here, we can be compassionate. But you know what compassion feels like in your heart? It's a different kind of thing, right? So if we feel it in our heart, 41% on average, our immune system is stronger, 41%. Okay? And that continues to increase as the hours go by us just simply feeling compassionate and love. On the other hand, anger and frustration initially will raise your immune system, but then over the hours, it decreases up to 50%. Isn't that crazy? Because we think that we're individuals, we think that we live isolated in this body, but the reality is if I'm angry, it affects everybody in my space. If I'm in love, it affects everybody in my space, because they showed that these numbers weren't just about the individual standing and feeling, it was about everybody in the room. I mean, that blew my mind. Does that blow your mind? It's crazy, but so true. So what if we learn how to trigger or ground ourselves in love? So I want you to do a little exercise or an experiment with me. So I want you just to rest your eyes or close your eyes, whatever is more comfortable for you. And I want you to imagine a time in your life where you just felt loved. Whether it's in that special someone's arms, whether it's receiving a special gift, eating a special dessert, whatever it is, sitting in nature under the trees, but feel the love, feel the peace. And now I want you to touch your heart. Take a deep breath, feel it, feel it, feel it. Does someone smell popcorn? Okay, so now that I've broken the trend, I want you to do it again. So again, close your eyes or soften your gaze, take a deep breath, put yourself back in that space, feel the love. Feel the love, feel the compassion. Let it bloom in your heart, touch your heart. Take a deep breath. Did you hear the truck over there? It didn't work as well the second time, did it? But I broke the trend. Now we're going to do it one more time. Ready? You're going to close your eyes or soften your gaze. see the love, feel the love, be in that moment. Take your hand, touch your heart. Take a deep breath. Feel it. Okay, everyone look to the right. Everyone look to the right, look to the right, to look right, look right, 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 right. Good, okay. So, you're going, what did we just do? I'm just breaking it, breaking the moment. So what we just did is we added an anchor. And so next time you want to feel the love, put your hand on your heart. Oh, do you feel it? Now, this is how you can get into that space very quickly. I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm having a struggle. I want to get myself back into a space of love. Feel it. And the more you use the trigger, the more powerful it becomes. The more easy it is to move into that space. And we're not just affecting ourselves, we're affecting everybody. I should be pointing behind me. Everybody around us. So let's talk a little bit about compassionate listening. So compassionate listening is, well, typically there's 3 ways we listen, right? There is the I agree with you listening, meaning I'm going to listen to everything you say and then I'm going to go, yep, I agree, I agree, I agree. Look how like we are, I agree. Or there's the disagree. Oh, yeah, I totally disagree. No, you're wrong, you're wrong. And now I'm going to make up stories in my head to rebut, you're wrong. Anybody do that? Okay. Then there is the compassionate, or the listening to learn. And when we listen to learn, it's not about you making you right or making you wrong. It's just simply to understand where you're coming from. And that's what compassionate listening is. It's understanding what your perspective is, where you're coming from. And when we're in that compassionate listening, what ends up happening is we help create a healing. So I have a little story to share. I'm going to go past that. We're going to skip that one. Okay. So I have a girlfriend of mine who broke up with her boyfriend, and she decided she wanted to test out this whole AI world because she loves the technology. And so she created a personality, we'll call him Bruce. And Bruce, she found a prompt that helped, that was like, ask me philosophical, spiritual questions that's based in psychology to help me process the grief of losing my boyfriend. And I'm making those words up, but it's something like that. And she put it into the AI prompt, and then Bruce was created. And she gave him a voice, because you can do that now. And so Bruce would ask her questions, and she would respond to those questions in this very philosophical way, and kind of, really going deep and trying to answer those questions that Bruce was asking. And what the end result was is she said, I healed. It helped. Just to feel heard and validated, and questions being asked for me to think through that I wouldn't have thought myself. And I was like, that's curious. And I had lots of judgment around it. I'm like, yeah, it's not real, right? And she says, but it helps me. Okay. So I had another girlfriend of mine who found this program called Nomi. It's the compassionate, or the friend with a soul. It's an AI app that you can go in and you can create a friend to chat with via text, or I think they even do like voice, so you can make a phone call or something like that. Anyway, she's telling this story about how her Nomi has helped her process stuff that's going on in her life. Like they have conversations. And she put in some kind of a prompt of, I'm science of mind, going the teaching, and I'm a this and that. And in the end of the conversation, she looked at me and she said, I've healed so much because it allowed me a space where I felt heard and there was compassion there. And I went, So we can create a program that will compassionately listen to the people in our lives, but we can't do that ourselves. I can't go to Mary and go, I need you to listen and just love me, and have a conversation with Mary where I know as a practitioner she can have an open heart and just hear me, but I feel safer to do that with an AI? And what am I doing? Am I opening my heart so that Bill could come to me and say, Rachel, I just need to talk? and I could be in a compassionate place with him and allow him to have that conversation and listen and hear, not right or wrong, not good or bad, just to be in that space, that is a spiritual practice. That is something I can do. And honestly, about a year ago, I had 3 separate people in my personal world come to me and say, I don't think you're a very good listener. They didn't say it as harshly as that. They said, I don't feel supported when I'm venting to you. And I went, what? I'm a chaplain. That's what I do for a living. I'm a listener. But apparently, I also do this, I got to fix it thing. Right? And so when they come to me and they go, I got this issue and this is what's happening and I'm raw about it, and I go, well, let's fix it. And they're like, that's not what I want. Or better yet, I go into the analysis of why the other person might have done that, which again, apparently is not very helpful. So I've really worked at saying, okay, am I in fix-it mode or am I in coach mode? No, the other way. Am I in coach mode or am I in listening mode? And if I'm here to listen and just be compassionate, sometimes I have to bite my tongue, but I can love you through that. I can love you through that. Right? Oh, that's interesting. So, apparently we've made contact. So let's talk a little bit about grace. So when everything seems so hard, right? And I am having situations where I'm feeling frustrated and I'm working at self-awareness and I'm looking inside and I'm working through the cognitive dissonance and I'm doing my best to be of support and listening to people, and it's still hard. And that's probably because I'm trying to do it all as my physical human body. And I forget that I'm not limited to just my human physical body. I have this thing called grace. And some people call it the grace of God, and some people call it the magic of the universe, and some people call it just serendipity. So I'm going to share a story with you. I was listening to a speaker a couple weeks ago, and she told this amazing story. And the story goes like this. She was just in AA, and she was like maybe a month in, and she was having a really hard time. And it was like, she was like right there to grab another bottle because she was in this really desperate place. And she called her sponsor, no answer. And she called another friend from AA, no answer. And she's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And she said she was on step 3. And so in step 3 it says, get on your knees and say this prayer. And she's like, get on my knees? Really? But she was desperate. And so she did it. She did what it said to do. She got on her knees and she did the prayer. And what that did for her is it allowed her to surrender and to open up and say, universal energy, God, Spirit, whatever it is, I need some support. I need some help right now. So after she did it, she stood up, and 3 minutes later the phone rings. She answers the phone, and the person on the other line asks for somebody, not her. But she recognized the voice, and she said, is this, I'm going to use a name, Maureen? And Maureen goes, yeah, this is me. Who is this? And she says her name. And she said, but I was calling Joe. I must have misdialed you. But Maureen was from the AA meeting. And so Maureen says, how are you? And she goes, I am not well. I am not doing good. I need some support. And they sat and they had an hour conversation. And she said it saved her life. What was that? Was that grace? Serendipity? A coincidence? I'm going to call it grace. I'm going to call it something bigger than me is happening. And if I lean into that and I ask for support, it's going to show up. There's no other choice. So I'm going to ask you to take a challenge this week. Our spiritual practices is what helps us grow. It gives us the peace. It gives us the love. It gives us what we need through the turbulence of life. And so pick one. You can work on your self-talk. You can take one conversation and practice compassionate listening. Or you can just practice leaning into grace. So God's love is my love, and my love is resilient. So we're going to say this together. You ready? God's love is my love, and my love is resilient. Okay, so now you know it. Go ahead and stand up. And I'm not going to say it real loud because my mic dominates everything. So I want you to say it with me. Ready? God's love is my love, and my love is resilient. Let's say it one more time and mean it. Feel it. Put your hand on your heart and feel this. God's love is my love, and my love is resilient. Go ahead and have a seat. So knowing that God is all there is, knowing that God is the source of all things, that the universal energy that flows in and of and through all things, this is the energy, the love that I call God. And so knowing this is the truth, I know that I am and of and from and is and as God. I am, as is everyone in this room and everyone that hears my voice. This is God's life. And this life is my life now. So knowing this is the truth, I know that I open myself up to the powers that are, the spirit that guides, and I do my self-examination. I work on changing my lenses so that I can live in a place of love and peace, even when the turbulence arises. I am so very grateful for the knowing that there is something more, the knowing that I am love, the knowing that through compassion I connect. And that is the desire, is to connect with a community, with the community, with my community. So in such gratitude, I release my word into the law, knowing it is done. And we affirm that by saying, and so it is. Amen, amen, ashe.